Today we have Tara Wells, and we've asked her to come sit with us because she is a cool investor. She has done all kinds of cool stuff, and we're looking forward to her stories. So, Tara, you had mentioned to me in passing your goal was to own 50 properties.
Actually, I wanted to own 100 doors. So
100
doors are different than properties,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted to own 100 doors. And I've always done sales. So I never known a salary job. Well, except for when I was a teenager. But from the
like us all.
Yeah, from the age of 19 and forward, I've never known a salary job. So I'm commission paid. And always have done, home warranty over 30 years, but before that title. So when I started buying these rentals, it really didn't dawn on me what 100 doors, how much work that would be. Shopping is always fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there,
It's the hunt.
It is the hunt. And people all worry about, well, should I do it or should I not? If it breaks even, who cares? Right? I mean, really, who cares? You don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
It's breaking even. It's the maintenance after that. It's the phone calls and the follow-ups and the getting stuff done. That was super hard to do while I was working home warranties, right?
Mm-hmm.
And staying either number one or the top producer, right? For my whatever company with this company.
Right.
And so so 49 is where I got. And I was like, oh, okay.
So you got to 49 doors.
49 doors.
How many properties was that?
God.
And the reason, because I got to 15 properties, but it was 32 doors.
Okay, very good.
So it's not necessarily like a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2.
Oh.
We had some fourplexes, some duplexes, some single families.
Exactly.
So,
That's exactly the way it worked. I think at one point it was like 22 or 23. And there's some that I don't count. Like I have this stupid little condo in Hawaii. It doesn't count in the portfolio because it's worthless. And I seriously,
tell
seriously. So I was internet shopping. So what happened is I made a trip to Hawaii and I went to Waikiki and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I should buy something here, which, tells you maybe you shouldn't, maybe you should do some research. And, I started internet shopping and I came across a condo that's super cheap. What does that tell you?
It should raise a red flag somewhere.
It's too good to be true.
You would think, right? You would think that would tell me like, okay, if you buy it super cheap, you're probably not getting any value. And on top of it, when you go to sell it like a bazillion years from now, it's still going to be super cheap, right? Maybe never go up, right? And you would think it would, but maybe not. And so I thought, oh, well, I won't worry about it because I will go there. Have you guys all bought a property like that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You'll go there and you never go there.
Yeah.
Never. I have.
I saw it the first time and that's it.
No,
right?
I never saw it.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen it yet?
No, to this day,
Yeah.
never saw it. Bought it in 2001.
Maybe 25 years.
Yeah, never saw it.
Yeah.
I still own it because it's worthless.
Yeah, I have property I've never seen.
Yeah, why is it worthless?
It's on it's a leased land. So condos out in Hawaii have two. You have fee simple,
Yeah.
and then you have land lease. This building has 400 and some units. I don't know, 400 and some units. 4 of them are on land leases because the original owner, his son is handicapped in some way. God, I know too much about this now. And why do I care? And so he needed income for his son when he passed away. God forbid, he's still alive too. And so now 4 of us are in worthless properties. And all the other units have increased in value.
Right.
Right.
So it's fee. What
Fees,
kind of
a land lease or
Land lease or
yeah.
So is it what 100
No,
years?
fee simple is when you own it.
Right.
Land lease is when they own the land and you own the real estate.
Wouldn't that be like a condo?
No, condos are undivided interest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have an undivided interest in the parcel itself as a condo?
No.
But what you're saying is you don't have any interest in the land.
No interest in the land. So fee simple.
And you have to lease the land.
You do from the owner.
From the owner.
So isn't that stupid, Mike, when you think about it? 400 units, right? He owns all the land, right? Oh, sorry. I know. He owns all the land, right? And so then you've got 400 units and he keeps 4 of them. How does he own the land under those 4? Right? I know.
That's a complicated thing.
I know he does. But like realistically, you've got 400 units that are all undivided interest, right? He is in an undivided interest on those 4 properties with the other owners of the condo complex, And then I lease the land from him
Right.
and I own the condo. So I own the shell.
It's the same thing as what they did in New York, and they bought the air rights above all the buildings. So you can't go up, and you have to go through the air rights scenario and deal with that. Now, there is that same type of system on the P Street condos downtown in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
It's a land lease.
Those new ones that they built?
No,
Oh,
these
okay.
are older.
Okay.
It's a land lease.
Yeah.
So what you're going through, but it's the whole building is that way, and it's 3 stories of that. And you don't own the land underneath it. You have to pay the lease or the rent for the land.
So it sounds like it's a mobile home, essentially, but
that you never move.
Yeah, that's permanent structure.
And
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
on
permanent
floor,
structure.
and I'm on floor 4.
Yeah.
fourth floor.
Fourth floor. Yeah.
Oh, fourth floor.
So the one
Oh, you're on
below
the
you
fourth
is
floor.
not part of the land lease.
No.
And the one above you and to each side of you.
He
is not.
saved. There's 2 on fourth floor and 2 on the 3rd floor.
So can it be bought out and then go to the?
I'd have to get an attorney, and this stupid condo. It's way over in Waikiki that I've never seen.
Are you renting it on a month?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're making money on the.
No, I don't take the
income?
money out. I just leave it there, whatever comes in, because that particular condos needed to have, plumbing, or it just has problems. And so I'm just like, you know what? I don't want any money. Just store it in the bank and don't call me. Right. So I see the
You
little
get the
thing.
tax deduction.
Yeah, I see the little thing come in, and it says you have this much money. The last I heard is that the tenant was writing obscene things on the door, and they had to evict him.
Oh,
So my
wow.
poor property manager had to get a what do you call it? Like when you go to the police department and you say you cannot contact me anymore. Restraining order.
Restraining order
Against my tenant.
Oh, you don't.
And he says, and then my tenant sends me a 3-page letter, right? I don't know this.
You or your property
Me,
manager?
I don't know this guy from a can of paint, right?
Yeah.
And he writes me this letter about how he's having problems and, blah, 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 and how his life is this way. It would be kind of like reaching out to me and, saying something that I'm politically opposed to, right? And he's like on the other side. And I'm thinking, God, I wonder if he knows who he's talking to, right? Because like he's saying all these things, and like, I really just don't give a shit. And so I took the letter and I scanned it and I sent it to my property manager. And I said, hey, you probably should do something with this guy. And whatever it takes, just use the money. It's sitting in the account and get him out. Right? Because I thought, and I never acknowledged his letter. 3 pages of woes me. I'm like, no, you get off your ass and go to work, dude. Like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's my story about that one.
Okay, so where have
We have 49 to
I know,
48 more to
48
go.
more to go. No, wait, she doesn't count that one.
Oh, that's true.
No, it doesn't count. No, it doesn't count. Yeah. I bought a lot of weird things. So,
Okay, good. I can't wait.
I bought a property that was, do you guys remember that serial killer in Wilseyville?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Charles Ng, remember him? Oh my God. Charles Ng, right? So he was a serial killer.
Mhm.
And
What state city?
California.
Yeah.
And he was either in Wilseyville or West Point. I think he was in Wilseyville. I owned a property in each.
Okay.
Right? I think it was Wilseyville. These are towns nobody goes to. And so this property.
Did people come out of them?
Sometimes. So funny thing is that my Century 21 office in Jackson, right, had this listing. I like that little office. It was cute. So and I see their sign. I'm like, oh yeah, I could buy that. And so anyways, I bought that and the other one in the neighboring town. And the agent was telling me the story about this guy who bought this house down the street, right? And it was just in passing, right? And about like how weird he was, and he came in and he wanted to buy a house with a basement and all this stuff. And he lived in Gilroy, and the agent had to go to Gilroy to pick up the lunch pail of money, right? So it was a lunch pail. But you have to imagine that these houses back 20 some years ago, 25, 30 years ago, I could pick them up for 50,000, 60,000.
Right.
They weren't very expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so he had this lunch pail of money, right? And I kind of heard the story after the fact of buying this, but so owned my house, and then something happened, and I'm watching the TV and it's Charlesing, and I'm like, oh, Wilseyville, that's kind of weird. I own property there. And so
I wonder if it's close to my house.
fancy that. Then I go to the office making my sales calls. I go to the office and I'm like, what's up with that? They're like, oh my God. The lady the lady who lived there was a tenant of ours, because when the guy bought the house down the street, I don't know. Oh, it was next door. It doesn't matter. This lady was a tenant of theirs that went missing, and the gal in that office was the manager and drove to the office, right? Or drove to the house looking for her rent. This lady had lived there 20 some years and paid rent on time every month,
Yeah.
right? Gets there and she gets out in all these newspapers and stuff's all over. And she's like, oh, that's kind of odd. And so she goes to the front door and everything's dark. And then she sees out of the corner of her eye, she sees this guy start walking at her, right? And she said, the hair on the back of my neck stood up so fast. She walked back to the car. She gets in the car and she rolls down the window, and he goes, can I help you? And she goes, oh, I'm just looking for, we'll call her Mary Sue, I don't know. And he says, oh, she was on vacation. And this property manager is smart, right? Instead of going, oh, I don't think so. She said, oh, I didn't know. Maybe I just misread it. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. Oh, okay. Well, I'll just touch base with her when she gets back, right? That's a smart property manager.
Yeah.
Instead of,
and then leaves.
no shit, right? Instead of fighting like, no, I don't think so, which some people do, right? So
You're wrong.
Yeah, she left. She called the police. That's how he got busted.
No way.
Yeah, that's how he got busted. And I know
So was he living in the house with this?
So it was his house. Then it was a couple houses down her house, and then a couple houses down my house. So we were like all on the same.
She had a very well-known street that you owned on.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
National.
Yeah, I had national attention. Yeah, national attention, right? But at least I didn't have to claim that my house was either the woman that got killed or that had the serial killer. But I did have to disclose that the serial killer
Lived on the street.
Yeah, lived in the neighborhood. I wouldn't have done it any other way. When I do disclosures, mine are 2 or 3 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do just disclosures. I write everything I can remember about that property, unless I haven't lived there. But even if I haven't, like, oh, I paved the road, but I didn't use asphalt. I used limestone. I replaced all the windows myself or handyman, no permits. I ledger everything that I can possibly remember.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's good.
I'm not, and you don't want to buy it, I don't care.
Yeah.
Don't buy it.
Yeah.
Right. There's always a buyer.
Always a
Always a
buyer.
buyer.
There's always a buyer. You just
Like you.
I'll shop for it online.
I'll buy it.
So that was a cute little house though. It actually was. Yeah, and then I sold them. Yeah.
Okay, so you have how many now?
I have let's see. Well, I'm down to 22, 23 units. So I think I've got I counted them. I think I've got like 8. So I'd have to add them
8
up.
buildings.
8, yeah.
And 22 doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So not that many. So the primary one, so I had a 12, I had a not big ones, but bigger than some investors. I had a 12-plex back east and I had a 6-plex. I still own an 8-plex out in Yuba City. So that's the bulk of mine,
right?
Which that building panned out pretty well. Mm-hmm. And I bought that from the chairperson on the education committee. Right. Oh. So I was sitting remember James? Mm-hmm. Yeah. From Lion, when Lion existed. It
went away.
It did go away. It should have gone away a little sooner. But when we were sitting there, I was like, yeah, I'm doing a 1031. I can't remember what I was selling. It doesn't matter. But he goes, oh, I have this 8-plex. It wasn't really his. It was Beverly Triplet.
Okay.
Or I don't know if she has an R in her name. Anyways, it was her. She still sells real estate, not that much. She's kind of older. But it was her. It was her personal investment property. Mm-hmm. Agents. Oh, I've redone the whole thing. Like crap. Nothing. Yeah. Knob and tube wiring in the unit. I just replaced the main. I've owned that building for a long time, though. I've owned it since 2005. Yeah, so that's a long time. I kind of like it now. Now I've done everything.
Well, yeah, now that you've proved everything.
Yeah, yeah. Knob and Tube surprised me because Beverly wrote remodeled, but her idea of remodeling and my idea of remodeling
Carpet and paint.
are, two different things.
Yeah.
Like, because when I remodel, like, that means you gut it and then you rebuild it to a normal structure.
Right.
Right?
To updated standards.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something that
Yeah,
akin to it.
not metal counters and some sticky linoleum.
Yes.
There's a difference in
On the counter.
yes, yeah.
Sticky linoleum on the counter.
So there's a difference in the way we viewed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always fun because some people say, "Oh yeah, it looks great," and some people will say, two different properties, and one they can be in the same condition. One say, "Oh, it looks terrible," and the other one's, "Oh, it's in perfect condition."
Yeah.
And then it goes the other way too. So like you have one that's thrashed and they go, "Well, it's a fixer upper a little bit."
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't really care what it looks like. In my old days, I don't really care what it looks like inside.
Yeah.
What I care about are the bones.
Yeah.
Right. Is
The
it
electrical?
Yeah. Well, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Right. Having good electrical.
Yeah.
How's this? We have. So the 8 units. There's a couple of units. Well, there's several units that all feed each other. So like unit 8 gets a little bit of unit 6 and unit 6 gets a little bit of unit 3.
What do you mean?
Like they're,
What do you mean they feed each other?
Yeah, like
space-wise?
No, like electric. Like, so like one plug unit 8's paying for that's being used in unit 3.
Oh, we need power
Right,
from here, so
this
let's
one's on
steal it
this.
from
Yeah.
there.
And then unit 6 has got maybe a little bit of unit 8 and and I don't know who pays for the outside lights to this day, but I have outside lights and I don't pay it.
Comes out of someone's bill.
Somebody's paying it all these years.
You may get a bill from the electric company.
Well, there is-
5 years
how many
later, for the
meters
last
do you have on the
20
building?
years.
How many meters?
No, we have 8 meters.
Well, if you had outside
should have
lights,
9
you have
meters.
9 meters.
You would think. Yeah, I don't.
Unless it's on one of the tenants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's all divided equally. Everything's good.
Or you just charge everyone.
I don't know. I don't charge anybody. Everybody's got a little slice of something. It's a little slice of heaven.
All right. So, how many of these 49 units? What states have you invested in?
I've owned in New Hampshire, Vermont, Hawaii, and California. Those are, and I had looked in Texas. There's you have laps in life. So you go through peaks and valleys, right?
Yeah.
So I got kind of tired, right? Because working my ass off for so many years. I did not take a vacation for 10 years straight. So when I
Was that the first 10 years?
Yeah, from 2003 to about 2013, I never took off a day. I either worked or I worked on rentals. And when I'm saying that, and I hear people, I'm talking about working all of Thanksgiving. You know why? It's 4 complete days, right? I get a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if I start a project on Thursday, I've got 4 days
to finish it.
Unlike a weekend. Because if you think about it, you finish up your week on a Friday and you start, and by the time you load up your trailer and you get yourself, because remember, I own in Wilseyville, West Point, Grass Valley, Georgetown. So Oroville. Right? Everybody wants to own something on Oro Banger Road. That was me. And so I had all these properties all spread out, right? And so you load up the trailer, you get yourself going, and you got your tool pole in your toolbox and, your trailer and all your crap. And so by the time you get to the property, it's already for me, late 8 or 9 in the morning. And we're just starting, right? So now you got to pull things out. What if you're doing a complete demo, right? You're starting to pull things crap out. You're demoing a kitchen or you're taking off siding. That takes up the whole day.
Yeah.
Then you got Sunday.
And then you got to drive home after that.
You got to drive home. I got to take a shower. And then I got to say, oh, okay, ready to go out and do my job.
Go back to work.
Right? And so it was a constant cycle. So when I hear people whatever, or you're lucky. I hate that word.
You're lucky.
I hate that word.
You are so lucky.
Yeah, I'm so lucky.
We are lucky to be born in America where we can do this.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky to have health. We're all lucky to have health and people who love us and things like that. No, work-wise or what we work for, that's not luck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's work.
That's determination or it's consistency or it's a plan, but it's like hell not luck. Because I was not lucky to work, 10 years, 7 days a week while you were, off in Hawaii or wherever you were.
Wherever.
Right? And then thinking, oh, I should have some of that. Or why am I in debt? I don't know why you're in debt. Why are you? Right? Did you not have a plan? Was there not a plan in the beginning? Right? And so, anyways, yeah. So there.
Yeah.
So
I was talking to my uncle. This was 10 years ago or so. He goes, he was a real estate, lifelong real estate guy, developer, etc. Yeah, I worked Monday through Friday and Saturday, at least a half day. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that was it. Monday to Friday is till the work's done.
Yep.
And then Saturday, and for like the first 10 years, I probably worked all day Saturday.
Yep.
And I took Sunday off just for sanity.
Well, and some people that are
I couldn't
some
do it.
people that are more
7 days.
religious like take it off for religious reasons, and I think that's noble, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? Just I didn't do that, and then I started taking Sundays off. That became my day of rest, right?
Yep. You need a day of rest.
I did, and so
10 years. I got a Sunday off. Yay!
It was like an experience, right? When you work that hard for so long, I don't think I took a day off. Actually, I would think it would be 2015. Actually, it was probably around 2015 when I first took a day off. You don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
You don't.
Yeah, you're like,
and you wake up at 6 a.m.
Yeah, you're like,
and then you go, now I can't sleep.
And you feel guilty.
Yeah.
You feel guilty you're not working. Like, I should be doing something.
I've got so many things I need to do.
Yeah. So you should see my property. I mean, I'm doing things on it all the time, right? Because I feel guilty, right? And the guy, like my neighbor comes over and I've got a trench going and I've got a new sidewalk going. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm laying the sidewalk right here. He's by yourself? And I'm like, yeah, I thought I should start that. I'll do a little bit at a time. Right? You're like, oh, okay.
That lady next door is weird.
I'm going to go home before she puts me to work. And I tell them all the time, don't come over here if you think you're going to be lazy.
That's good.
So did you property manage all your properties?
Yep. Property managed
even in Vermont and New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And Hawaii.
How did you do the rental part?
Yeah. So I got really good at making systems, right? So for an example, and I did find a tenant of mine, who I just texted today, who I love. I incorporated her over time, right? And then after a while, like I would say the last 10 years, she just took over Vermont. I just sold my 6-plex Vermont September. Okay. So I still have a duplex out there. I had a triplex, a duplex, a 6-plex, and another duplex out in Vermont. And and then she also helped me with New Hampshire, but that was the 12-plex. So she had a lot going on. And
okay, weird question. What's the time distance?
3 hours.
From Vermont to New Hampshire?
To New Hampshire? About 2 hours for her.
Okay.
Yeah, I paid her well.
Okay.
I paid her well.
Just wondering.
Yeah, no, she got paid well, and she's still getting paid. Right now, good. She gets paid, and she only has a duplex. Because I still have a piece of land out there that I'm thinking of putting 12 units on. So that's
cool.
So you're gonna build?
I am. I haven't done that yet, so I thought I should try it.
Yeah.
Right.
In Vermont or New Hampshire?
Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah, Vermont. So
all the rules.
You just keep,
that's how you learn.
And find a good builder.
You just do a little at a time, and you figure out the pieces.
Yeah. You figure out what you don't know as you trip across them.
Yeah. Kind of like that. So she was a big help. And so, and you don't know at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And she turned out to be like actually, and she didn't take her license because I said, I got to sell this. I can't do this forever. I want to do different things. And she took a real estate license 3 times and failed.
Oh.
She's going back in March.
Okay.
And so, and I want her to, she has a doctorate in theology.
Oh.
She's not stupid.
No, not at all.
Okay. She is not stupid. She can't freaking get the real estate test. And I keep thinking, you know why I passed it is because I never graduated from high school. So I don't overthinking things.
That's probably what it is.
Right?
Good point.
Yeah. I'm not, yeah.
Well, it's not logical either. It doesn't really fit into any other.
Just answer the question the way they want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best way I found was knowing what the answer is and just reviewing it over and over and over and over again until it's stuck in my brain.
Yep.
And
Memorize A, B, or C.
easy.
That's what I did.
That's right.
And you can get the answers verbatim the way they are on the test.
Yeah.
Well, you used to be able to. I don't know now.
Yeah, I don't
She
know
kept
now,
wanting
but
to-
when I took it, that's
She
what
kept asking, she kept wanting to know why it's that way.
It's like, this
Who
doesn't make
cares?
sense.
Who cares?
Don't worry about that.
Pass the doggone
Yeah.
test.
Yeah. So that's really hard for
Good for her. No,
Yeah.
it's
And
it's
she
not
has,
a slouch
she has her
test.
whole congregation,
Yeah.
right? And so she said, well, I would feel, I'm like, don't feel odd. Let me ask you this. Would God want you to take care of his people, or would he want somebody who doesn't have their best interest taking care of his people?
Exactly.
Right? And since you are a godly person and these are your people and your congregation, why wouldn't God want you to take care of them with the most trust and love that they can get?
Right.
Right? And so with that, she went away for a while and she came back and she goes, yeah, you're right. Because I should take care of my people. I'm like, yeah, you should. And get paid.
Yeah.
And you pay.
And get paid for it. Why not? Right? And so, yeah. So I had her help me for a while. But no, so systems are really important. They see the property. Well, I put it online. And I have two questions.
Mhm.
These are my two questions. Is it just for you? And do you have a job?
Mhm.
These are the only questions I ask. And so how they reply is where we go, right? Some buildings can only tolerate so much,
Mhm.
right? And I can't discriminate, but we can only tolerate so much in certain buildings. Plumbing,
What
for
do you
instance.
mean, like number of people?
Number of people, you've
Yeah.
got plumbing, you've got to consider the building itself,
Yeah.
right? Like, what's the landscape like? How many toilets? How many people can these toilets actually handle?
Is it septic or not?
None of my properties, well, no, Georgetown was, but the properties I'm thinking about, no.
Yeah.
But there was a basement unit. And so if you had babies and you have baby wipes, just, you have to think about all this. So anyways, those are my two questions.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people come back to me in an email stating, well, you can't answer me that question. And I'm like, okay, well, I won't. I just won't ever talk to you again. So it's super easy. All right. Can't ask you. Won't talk to you. Right. So those are the two questions. How they reply is where we go from there. If they're interested, depending on where the unit's located, right? In the old days, I'd send my mom, but she's 88, so I don't do that anymore.
You see your mom now checking.
Yeah, it was something. But like my handyman.
Sorry, Mom, you can't retire. I need you.
Well, no, because she's crazy now. So no, yeah, she does. But like out in Yuba City, I've got my handyman that lives there, and Yuba City is a different animal.
Different world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my handyman's
Know the area well.
my handyman's perfectly fine showing the unit, right?
Yeah.
So we start with the application, or we start with that, and then I say to them, okay, well, if you're interested, I will send you out. What's good about him is that he spent some time in prison,
Mhm.
and so you would think that would not be good. It is super good, right? Because he doesn't do drugs and he probably drinks beer, but he has worked for me for 17 years. And I mean, he gets a paycheck every week.
Mhm.
And what's good about that is he can spot them from
yeah.
a mile away,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
right? And he will write me and goes, nope, not a good one. And I'm like, okay, I don't even ask. Why would I?
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
Because he knows.
You don't want
He's your
to know.
filter.
He is my filter.
Right.
And he's huge. Right? So nobody messes with
Well, they're
the
not going to
property.
mess with that.
No.
When he posts pay now or quit.
Yeah. He's huge, right? So he's huge, ex-prison. I'm like, oh, he's perfect,
Yeah.
right? And so I let him show it. And then if they're interested, then I email them an application. They email me back the application.
Mm-hmm.
I look it over. I don't really do a credit check. That's probably just me. I verify last place of employment or last place of residence
Mm-hmm.
and employment, right? I have found that doing a credit check doesn't really do me any good, but that's just me. I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't do that. And if they're new into it, they probably should, because you can't go by a vibe.
Right.
I can go by a vibe, but a lot of people can't.
Well, once you've been burned many times, you get to know what the burn,
You
what
can
the
feel
soon
it.
to be burned vibes are.
Yeah, you can feel them.
Yeah.
You can feel the bullshit coming down
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah, yeah, because you've already been scarred by it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
got hit by that truck.
Yeah. I had one out in North Highlands.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, when she moved out, not only did they move everything to the front lawn, and I mean, it was,
Who, the tenants? The
yeah.
neighbors?
Oh no, the tenants.
Tenants moved everything.
All their crap, because they had two Section 8s collecting Section 8 checks. I had to take them to court, and she told the judge, she said, well, you can't stop my Section 8. That's what I live on. And the court said, yeah, but you've been living there all this time. She evicted you. Evictions mean you can no longer get Section 8. She tried to tell you. I had all the documentation. She goes, oh, I didn't know you would remove it. Well, what did you think, lady? Right?
Yeah.
And so they put all the stuff, and then she wrote on one of those paper plates. I saved it because it's so unique. It's like one of those round paper plates. Yeah, and she wrote like this all the way around her daughter, all the way to the center of the plate.
So you're reading it.
So what did she write to you?
Oh, good things.
Good things.
Yeah, words that I should have put on this.
A lot of 4-letter words.
Oh, a lot. Yeah, you're such a, what is it called? Everybody wants to call you slum landlord, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
This place I had bought during the foreclosure. So later that
You
came.
didn't buy it for me.
No, I would have.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I
If
would
you were
have.
selling.
I was selling a lot.
Yeah.
You sold a lot of it.
Yeah, no, Kelly Bright was selling a bunch of foreclosures. I tried to go. Warren Adams had one in Loomis. Now I know Warren pretty well, but back in the day, I called him. He wouldn't call me back. I called him again. He wouldn't call me back. I was at my office at the time. Now I would. So anyways, and then he sold it. And I got so mad. I'm like, oh my God, that was right in my neighborhood. And it was this little piece of crap nobody else would want. Like, why would you sell it to somebody else? I'm like, right down the street from that piece of crap, right?
Yeah.
So I told him, we might see new opportunities, right? You just never know.
Right.
You keep your mind open.
Yeah.
Cash is king.
Yeah.
You keep yourself fluid, and you wait for opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my brokers said to me, be careful, right? Because opportunities don't happen when it's convenient.
Correct.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So we all want people, families who have babies. Well, we're going to get all ready. Really good luck with that. Because it's not, you don't have families when it's convenient. You have families when you're having families.
Right.
Right?
A lot of oopses.
We'd have no kids. Yeah.
Or a race would cease to exist.
Yeah. Because everybody'd be planning for that one child. Right. And so, So anyways, yeah.
Isn't that the truth, though?
Yeah. So that's a good building. And so, so I do that. And then after they do the application, they send me the application, I look it over, and then I reach out to the person that's getting it. And I said, hey, I have decided that I am moving forward with you. Here, I need you to sell me your deposit. Right. Mm-hmm. And so they sell me their deposit. And when they sell me their deposit, then I send them out a lease agreement that I have signed, and they sign the lease agreement. They send it back to me, and then we're in contract.
And you get them a key.
I don't. Everything's on padlock.
Okay, but they don't get the padlock combo until it's all signed.
Correct. But everything's on padlock, so that way I have no keys. So out in Yuba City, I think the only tenant I do know is John. So I know another tenant. Mm-hmm. I like her too. Yeah.
So you know two tenants.
I know two tenants in that building. Yeah. And in Tilton, when I owned that 12-plex, I didn't know one tenant, right? And then my 6-plex in Vermont, I didn't know any of them. I never went to that building either. I never went inside a unit all those years I owned it. Tilton, I went inside.
How'd you like Vermont? So share about Vermont, New Hampshire, what you liked, what you didn't like, what
Okay,
the benefits, drawbacks, etc.
who do you show this to?
It's going to go out to the world.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Because I disagree with the way Vermont does things.
Oh, feel free to be
That's
vocal. And the reason I say that is like, hey, here's my experience. Here's why it didn't work. And hopefully somebody in the Vermont somewhere will pick it up and go, oh, maybe that's not the right way to do
Well,
it.
there's a lot of things that go on in California that don't make sense either.
Yeah.
You know, we got rent control, we got all kinds of things. So the outside world of California is looking at California and making determinations. And then us that actually work inside of California have decisions and determinations.
Yeah.
Why are people leaving the state? Why are they selling their investment properties and going other places? They have a reason why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Vermont has a reason. New York has a reason. Chicago has a reason. So we want to know what's going on in
The
Vermont.
reason's Bernie Sanders.
Because we're not familiar with Vermont.
Okay.
We're familiar with many other states.
Vermont is such a beautiful state.
It is.
It is a gorgeous state. It is the 80-20 rule. And I don't know the actual statistics. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know the statistics, right? But they have a high tenant ratio. When they give you money, what's that called?
Section 8.
Section 8, but there's subsidized.
Subsidized.
Yeah, so not just Section 8.
It's all subsidized.
Free utilities, food, rent, right?
Who subsidizes all that?
The property owners. So I'll give you an example. You think the
So
taxes...
it's not the taxpayer, it's the property owner.
It's the property owner, well, taxpayers, but the property owners carry the bulk of it. And I'll give you
owner occupied or non-owner occupied? Because I've seen it different in different places.
any building that you own. Okay, so an example, my sixplex, right? When I bought it, I paid like $300,000 for this thing, right? So not very much. My taxes, like when I sold it, were $13,000 a year for a sixplex
For property tax.
for property taxes.
Whoa.
What were they when you started?
Not that much, but no, about 8.
About 8, okay.
About 8. So
It went up about
2000, yeah, 2,000 a quarter. So they bill you quarterly, right? So it was about 2,000 a quarter. Now, mind you, I got significantly more, not as much as you'd think, because property values. So Vermont's high rent, because you have high output, right?
High expenses.
Right. But the return or the equity return. So I always tell people when you're shopping, my nails are dirty. When you're shopping real estate, you have to keep 2 things in mind. Like anything, you want a mixed portfolio. So there's one portfolio that you have, that's your equity portfolio, right? So your equity portfolio, like a state like California, might not yield you a positive cash flow like you're looking for.
Right. When you say equity portfolio, you mean that you have a lot of cash into the properties, so there
it's
may
going to
not
equity
be loans,
increase,
or yes, or that the equity increases faster than in other places.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, your equity is increasing faster than other places, right? So California would be one. There's parts of Arizona that you would get good equity increases. Right now, Texas, not Florida, but Florida would be a inexpensive place to buy.
End of the cycle.
Right. Yeah. So if you went to Florida right now, right? Florida is inexpensive to buy, right? Their property taxes are high, but favorable, and rents are substantial. I mean, you get a decent rent. Yeah. So Florida might be a good investment state, right?
As opposed to equity growth state.
Exactly.
Good cash flow versus equity.
Yeah. So again, like I said before, like if it's paying for itself, who cares? Right? The whole point is that it's paying for itself.
Because in Florida, you could actually lose equity position.
Yeah, you could.
So because it's shifting there.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term play.
But let's say you held it, Mike, for 20 years.
That's my point.
Yeah.
It's a 20-year, it's a long-term play. You just don't go in and expect I'm going to make a bunch of money in 2 to 3 years and get out. It's a long-term.
Anybody who gets into real estate and thinks they're going to get rich quick, you're already lost.
Right.
You already lost. Why? Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because I could just go to your house and take your money.
Right.
Right. Because that's
why
just easier.
we pretty much say, if you're going to buy real estate, especially on an investment, just plan on 10 years
Yeah.
minimum.
Make
At
a
least you can
plan.
get through a cycle.
Yeah. Make a plan. What is your goal here? Is
Right.
it, these people all want to flip. Flipping works until it doesn't.
No, flipping is a job.
Yeah.
There's a difference between flipping and owning real estate long term.
But
Flipping is a
but
job.
it works until it doesn't.
It
That's
works
correct.
until it doesn't. Yes.
Right? And
that's
so
correct.
I've already seen a couple of my agent flippers
Yeah.
that are upside down on their current flips.
Correct.
Right?
It's a market shift.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that they didn't make money before. But if you are like most people, I have to say I'm not like this. I actually store my acorns. But many people don't.
Yes.
Many people get an allotted amount and they use it like they need to use it all. There's no surplus.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. If you have surplus, it's to be used.
Yeah.
That mentality.
On something stupid.
Right.
Right. And so if you've got your flippers that are especially in a certain age group,
What would that be?
in my regard, somebody that's, hot and doing this, late 30s to late 40s, early 50s, right? Somewhere in there, they've got energy. They're out there. They think they're king of the road. We all thought we were king of the road. And, they find out they're not.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, it works until it doesn't.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be several smart flippers that have stored acorns.
Yep.
They're going to take a loss on 1 or 2 or 3 units that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to reallocate what they're positioning, and they're going to be able to stop and restart. We're going to have some, just like back in 2000, 5, 6, 7, who had projects going on. They just did not recover.
No,
Yeah.
they lost everything.
They did not
Well,
recover.
and that was rough because then that rolled right into 2008 to 2012.
Yeah.
Which was worse.
I call them the longest 10 years of Obama I've ever had.
Yeah. That's when I knocked on all the doors. When you plan on moving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just went to foreclosure like crazy.
They did.
And a lot of new construction went down.
Yeah.
It was just like a pyramid, and it busted.
Yeah. And so there's no recovery from that.
No.
Because if you don't have any acorns
No.
and your time comes, you're not.
Yep.
Yeah. So you just have to have, you have to have, they call it multiple streams of income. I just call it positioning, decide. So you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So like if your equity crashed in California, let's say you owned an 8-plex in California, right? I don't know what it's possibly worth right now. We'll just say $1.3 million or $1.4 million, whatever it's worth. Let's say that crashed to 700,000. Let's just pretend that went half down, right? Right? But you own something over here. It's not worth anything, right? Worthless, but it's creating income for you.
Cash flow.
Yeah.
Income.
So now you've got income coming over here because over here you just lost half your portfolio, right?
Yeah.
So,
But
Over there you have break-even cash flow on that, though.
and this isn't for, this is for future.
Right, but if you bought it 5 years before and you paid $600,000 for it, so you've lost a lot of equity, but you still have an equity position possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. And who cares?
Who cares?
Right?
You got another 5-8 years that you're going
Or
to go
20.
through, or 20, and,
The only thing
and it
that
goes to $2 million.
the only affected this would have is greed.
Yes.
Somebody who was greedy that thought this was the stock market and that they were waiting till it got to 2 million, right?
Mhm.
Like you're going to wait until you're 105 before you do anything, right? And you got this thing here and it drops and all of a sudden they're poor.
Right.
No, honey, you're not poor. You never had it. You didn't sell it, right? Just like when the stock market drops, you don't have that money. Right? That's it. And this is a weird thought. I don't think we have anything. I think it's a big monopoly game, right?
Well, you can't lose something you never had. So it's just an equity financial statement is all it is.
And at the end of the day, the government owns everything, right? I mean, you pay your taxes, they can come in, they do whatever. It's just a big monopoly game, and you just want to have your pieces, and you want to get your hotels on your colors, right? That's your goal. Get as many hotels
and not get them knocked off.
Yeah, get as many hotels on your colors, right? Before somebody else does it. I mean, it's simple, but it's not fast. It takes.
Oh, I love that, because I'm finding as I get older, I'm in my 50s now, and I'm looking at life and I'm going, okay, sometimes it takes 5 years or 15 years or 25 years to get to that place that you wanted to be in 5 years.
Yep.
But if it's, are you pursuing the thing that is worth pursuing for as long as it takes to get it?
Yeah.
And if you're not, go do something else.
Yeah, if you're not happy, well, God forbid. And I don't think, like people like, oh, get a job that makes you happy. Well, you're not going to make happy
Walmart
dancing.
greeter.
Yeah. I mean,
Get a job that makes other people happy.
Yeah.
so that sense is kind of stupid.
Well,
But
you have to get to the place that
how about find a job
you don't hate.
that you don't hate and that you are happy in.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the job makes you happy.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't necessarily, I get up every day at 5 o'clock. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can have a cup of coffee, so I can go jog around the park, so I can come back, so I can get ready, so I can start my emails, so I can get out and be at my offices like at 8:30 or 9 o'clock meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an agenda.
Right.
And you talk about Vermont. That's years of training. Why did I get up so early? Right? Vermont's 3 hours ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you own properties in the East Coast for over 20 years,
You'd be 3 hours ahead.
you're getting up every day at 5 o'clock because that's their day at 8. And I always did 2 hours of work before work. Right?
So let's get back to the Vermont a little bit here.
Okay.
What are we looking at? You said it's an entitlement or
The tenants get entitlements.
Tenants get
to,
They get Section 8 though.
Yeah.
so, and you said it's paid for by the landlord?
It's
What
paid
does
for because the taxes are so high
Okay, so they take the taxes and then they disperse it.
everywhere.
It goes back to the tenants and everywhere else.
Yeah. And so I got to the point where I would not take a Section 8. Right? Because I was so irritated by the whole thing.
As a matter of principle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand. Okay,
Yeah,
I've been there.
because it was my money.
No, with Section 8.
Well, it was your money being dispersed. That's
Yeah.
correct.
My money. So like they were like paying me
They're paying you back.
with my money. I'm like, go get a job. Right? So I got very strict with that. And that's why I got to the 2 questions. How many and where do you work? Super
Right.
simple.
Right.
And if they
right.
go back and they're like, oh, well, I'm on disability. Really? Did you fight in Iraq or what's the deal here? Oh, yeah, no. I hurt my back. And you're 30? Is there a job that you couldn't do from your seat? Right?
Mhm.
Because I'm just curious. I'm not going to ask these questions, but this is what goes through my head. Like
Right.
if it's a Marine or an Army person or somebody that has truly given their body for my freedom,
Yeah.
I'm all on.
Yeah,
I am
absolutely.
all on.
Absolutely.
Right? I will do, if I have to build my ramp myself, right? Put me there. But you're whining about your back when I've been working all these years and 10 years without a vacation, and you're living off the dole of the government because I pay too many taxes and they don't know how in the hell to keep track of it. So they give it to Somalia.
Well, there's a good one.
Right? And so do I think I'm overpaying taxes so you can live for free? Probably. So, yep, not in my building. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the law is that I cannot now discriminate against Section 8.
Right.
So,
In California.
Is
Is it in Vermont too?
no, I think that one, is that just California or is that a federal law?
No, it's California.
Oh, California.
I know it's California.
California only.
California, yeah.
Yeah.
Section 8 is first
A year or so now.
come, first serve. And if it's Section 8 and they're first in line, got to take them.
Well, as long as they fit within
I can
the
still
criteria.
do it on credit.
Yes. You can do it on
And so
credit.
they are trying to revamp the law because what Section 8 person do you know that has pristine credit? So if I have a tenant over here that has God forbid, a 620 score, right? My Section 8 has a 580, right? We're not talking about high rollers here, right? I get to take the 620 currently,
Mhm.
right? So it just gets back to my bodyguard at my building. Not this one.
Yeah.
Your watcher.
Another reason why people are frustrated and leaving California. It's sad.
So Vermont, like, okay, so high property taxes.
Yep. Now
And
you take New Hampshire on the other hand. New Hampshire, what I did like, so when you sell in Vermont, so it's a double taxation, right? So you're taxed, then they tax you again. So when you sell, you're taxed here. I'm taxed in California. So you absolutely have no choice but to do a 1031 exchange, moving money. Absolutely have no choice, right? Because you're federally taxed, Vermont taxed, California taxed 3 times on any property that's sold in the state of Vermont. Nice thing about New Hampshire is New Hampshire is a no tax state when you sell your properties, right?
Okay.
So California gets a little piece, but because
New Hampshire doesn't take it.
doesn't take any. Can you believe that? So how pissed off am I when I sell property, right? When I sell a property in California and I'm taxed by the state I live in, who has nothing to do with the property I sold in, right?
Yes.
Nothing to do with it. Governor Newsom, nothing to do with it, right? Stay the hell out of my business. Right? But nope, they tax you.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that Trump is talking about the capital gains tax, right? And then there's a few states talking about getting rid of property taxes. Now, when I was in Bosnia or some other country, but I think it was Bosnia, we were talking about owning property. I'm almost positive. Not that I want to go by there, but the gentleman's like there, and I was talking about property taxes.
Were you investigating it so that you get a write-off?
I was very interested in how that went on, the war, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, and so it was very interesting. And these young people were playing out in the rubble, and you go in, and there's like bullet holes all on the outside. And you go in, and it's all redone nice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, were you alive? And, oh, yeah, I was a kid. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, was everything okay? And he goes, well, not when the sirens went off.
Oh, my word.
I'm like, what did you do? And he goes, well, we would hide in the rubble. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Not my life.
Yeah,
right?
that's a different
I'm not hiding in rubble, right? So I was fascinated.
And those were ugly wars.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
ugly wars.
yeah, yeah,
Yugoslavia.
yeah. Across Enemy Lines, it's a great movie.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, great movie. One of the better movies he played in. Because he's not always what's that guy with the nose? He's not always a great actor. He was good in that one. Unlike a real actor.
Liam.
No, it wasn't Liam. It was, played in The Wedding Crashers. Anyways, that's a whole nother subject. So, so Bosnia, and I'm standing there talking to then his uncle. We got in a conversation because I'm always talking about real estate or politics, my 2 big subjects. And so we were talking about that, and I was talking about taxation.
Right.
And he says, well, here in Bosnia, when you buy your property, you own it.
Mm-hmm.
It's your property.
Right.
And I said, yeah, well, we do that. We own our property. And he said, no, we own it. Like, they don't have anything to do with it. And I'm like, who's they? Right? And he says, the government. He says, we own our property. We can do whatever we want on it. We can build a house, or we can build, a store, right? Or
Anything.
we
No
can do
zoning requirements.
No, he said, because
Red
we
tape.
own our property.
Right.
And I said, well, don't you pay the government like taxes? And he looked at me puzzled, right? And he said, no. He said, ma'am, we own our property. It's ours.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, I get it. I said, I own my property and it's the government's. I get it. So I can pay my property off and they can still come and take me and put me in jail if I don't pay my taxes.
That's
even
correct.
though I have a free and clear property.
Right.
It's not the way it works all over the world. So anyways, made me think that, that would be probably a wise thing to do. There's other ways. Or maybe just stop sending my money to Somalia and you'd have enough money to not collect property
I
taxes.
was going to say, I appreciate the benefits that come from property taxes, like schools, things like that. However, as you're saying, it seems like we, as a wealthy nation, we've become wealthy enough that people have found ways to embezzle money out the sites.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and it used to be that things like that were community, right? So like you had communities that would take care of the
Well, that's
elderly.
usually what supports the
Schools,
the property tax, etc.
Yeah.
And we take care of each other.
Yeah.
And so now it's everybody's
And our money for
money goes
feds
in,
was
they take care of
was
us.
supposed to take
Inefficient.
care of us through military,
Yeah.
right? So on roads, somehow it got off to, I'm going to help the people in Afghanistan transition from being men to women. I don't know how my money went there.
Yeah.
Right?
One wonders, right?
And something
how did
I don't,
that get passed?
or just
Exactly.
my personal belief, why my money would go to personal decisions on abortion. Now, if you want to have an abortion, that's up to you. I do not want my tax money going to that, right? So I should have a say. My money should go to a voted in school or some care or roads or military. When it starts feathering out beyond that, don't use my money. If you have a position, if Mike has a position that, God forbid, I want every man to be a woman. Let's pretend Mike has that position. Mike, you go start your own club, right?
Yeah.
Get your own people and you all put money in for that, right? If you want to move that way. But don't take my money from an opposing position and put it that way. So that's how I feel about taxes. So anyways, that's all started in Bosnia. Yeah, there you go.
Good times.
I probably talked your ear off, but New Hampshire's a no
Mike's
tax.
going to turn off his phone now.
That's okay.
Yeah. I forgot something.
Hold on one moment.
Oh, I like
we'll
that.
edit this part out. We'll edit the part out where my phone rings. We'll edit the part where his phone rings.
I think it's good. I put my phone's always on silent. Yeah.
Usually mine is.
Yeah. So I do like New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So here's a question. You have a portfolio, and most of your properties are older now, right?
I don't have that many properties left. I've 1031'd them, or I've sold them, or I've downsized.
So what is your future plan? Are you looking to liquidate and eventually be totally out of real estate, or are you now you're going to build? So are you thinking about moving your existing portfolio to new properties or newer?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we like is if we're working with investors, especially ones that don't understand outside of California or long-term investing, we like houses that have a life of at least 10 years, no repairs. So we like younger homes.
Oh, that would not be Vermont.
No. No, I agree. We know markets, but as an investor, not market, but as an investor, Joel and I feel that the best opportunities are the younger, better conditioned properties. The nice roofs, the granite counters, things that are 10 years and younger.
Yeah.
Less problems, less maintenance.
Even since 2000.
Even 2000.
You can figure you don't have to, I mean, it's my thinking, you can hold a property for 50 years from the time of its birth to about 50 years before you have to really change out the kitchen, change out the bathroom, and then you have to redo it again, so it'll last another 50 years.
I think it depends on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well,
like if you're in Yuba City, who would care?
Well, that's true. But
so you're just, it depends on your investor.
No, what I mean is if you have a 1920s property, it was probably renovated again in the 60s, 70s, or 80s.
Well, and then
so it's like kind of like 50 years, and then it's still good.
And you'd want to know, like, did you change out the plumbing, or do I have to have my plumber on there with his, ghost hat on?
But your average investor that either is getting started or someone that has a portfolio already and gone through hell with all the repairs of the older houses and stuff, our feeling is, okay, don't go down that path, but you still want to own real estate. Go buy something that's 10 years old.
Yeah, or
younger.
I would say that, yes, if they've had...
And ride out the market and just let it do its thing. Go 10 years beyond that. Go 15 years beyond your purchase time.
Yeah.
So, okay, 10 years old, add 15, you're 25 years old. It's still a great property because you have the history and you're maintaining it. Hot water heaters are good for 10 years, 11 years. And it's weird. They all go out, it seems like.
You probably know better.
Yeah. See, and I get back to the structure more than I do the items.
Right.
HVAC is expensive, but still, I always play this.
But they're not as expensive in other areas than it is in California.
Everything. So my thing is, when I buy a property, and everybody does it different, I always do the what if.
Right.
Okay. what if the roof blows off? What if the water heater goes? So it came to my attention that the worst thing is your roof, right? Because it's the most expensive. And I don't mean to sound kind of flippant, but so let's pretend it's the roof. We're talking 30,000. If you're investing well, that's going to hurt, but it's only going to hurt for the moment.
Right.
It's not going to hurt long term.
Right.
You're just going to go, oh, well, I got to put a roof on that.
Right.
Don't want to.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that.
I just put a roof on one of my houses in Tennessee, and it was just under 10 grand.
Yeah, see?
So you do it in California, same house, same square
30,000.
feet, it'd be 30,000.
Yeah, 30,000. Yeah. Tennessee is a good neighborhood. Arizona, where you've got the newer homes. Oh, the Carolinas. I haven't bought in the Carolinas. Don't know anything about the Carolinas.
North Carolina is good. South Carolina is not.
Okay, I heard people are moving there.
Well, moving there and owning there is different because I think the taxes on owner property tax is like 0.3, 0.4%. Excellent for homeowners.
Wow.
Investors, non-owner occupied, it's 2 to 3%.
Oh, I think it's even more than that.
It's even more than that.
Wow.
It could be even 5%.
Yeah.
So the encouragement to own rental properties in South Carolina is not favorable.
Yeah.
North Carolina is. So know what each.
Where do they put their tenants?
What do you mean? Where they put their tenants?
Yeah, where do they put their people? Like their governments are always screaming, "There's no place to put my tenant."
Well, that's because investors aren't going to buy.
Right. No shit. Why would you buy? Like, so where do they put their people?
I don't know. Well,
they all moved to South Carolina.
I gotta go and find out. Yeah, they all moved to North Carolina.
We're moving. Here's my bag.
Yeah. So that's just the way it is. There are people that invest in Carolinas and South.
Yeah. Well, like anywhere, like people invest in Vermont.
Yeah.
They just get a worse return.
Well, that kind of happened on a whim. So I was doing a 1031 exchange. Okay.
All right, let's hear the story.
So my dog's name was Marcos Tadeo's Junior Bird Dog. Okay. Follow this. My dog. Okay. My mom's sister lived in New Hampshire, and my biological father, who I'd never met, lived in New Hampshire. I hadn't met him yet. Didn't know him all these years. And so my mom's back there visiting her sister, and we own a property out in Grass Valley, right? And I said, God, Mom, we should buy something in New Hampshire that you can go visit, because then you can write it off, and you can visit your sister, and maybe Jackie, that's her sister, can manage it for us. This all seems logical, right? Right.
Seems logical.
It seemed logical at the time. So we came across this place out in Portsmouth, right? Is that the way you say it? That's the way I say it. Doesn't matter. That's the way I say it because that's the way it's spelled. It was cute. It was a restaurant downstairs and 2 condos upstairs. And the name of it was Rooskies. Rooskies.
Oh, how fun.
So we thought, God, that has to be like a sign from God, right?
Biker bar.
Yeah. We're totally going to buy this place, right? So my mom goes in, my mom's back there. My mom writes up a contract. By the way, I've been a licensed agent since 86. My mom's been a licensed agent since 87. I've always kept my license in the drawer because I've always been a top producer for whatever company I've been with, always found it a conflict of interest. My mom, even though she did home warranties, she was, I call them, meat and potatoes. Mm-hmm. She was always a B player. So it didn't matter as much. So my mom always wrote the contracts. And so she went back there. She wrote a contract, even though we were from California, found an agent, got a referral fee, doesn't matter. And we went into contract on this place on Rooskies. Totally wanted this place, right? Totally wanted it. And like 2 days before it was going to record, the person who owned the restaurant had first right of refusal. And the person who was selling the property never gave him first right of refusal, right? So the whole deal fell apart, and we were in a 1031 exchange, and we had to find something.
And you were like 5 days from.
So my mom's driving around with her freaking sister 3,000 miles away from here. Now, mind you, that was many years ago. My mom was, having fun. And she pulls up a magazine, and it's this 12-plex old ice house, right, in Tilton, New Hampshire. And so she was like, what do you think? And she sent it to me. And I said, well, God, I'm working. But, if the numbers work, let me know. And so she says, all remodel. Yeah, it was remodel.
The one with knob and tube?
It had knob and tube too. And so she makes an offer on it and we end up in it, overpriced, bought it overpriced, but we had to do something with this 1031 exchange. So, and we owned that for 20 some years too. So long time. And so, anyways, that's how we ended up with that one in Tilton, right? So, personal side is that my mom does that 23andMe. By the way, you know, when you do 23andMe, it's like Ancestry.com.
Oh, okay.
Our Ancestry. It pulls up Neanderthal. Do you know that many people that lived Northern Europe had a little smidgen of Neanderthal?
Oh.
I didn't know that either. I read all about it. Anyways, different subject. 23andMe twice I took. They told me I didn't have enough DNA. I was thinking, am I not human?
You not have enough DNA?
I know that was weird, right?
Yeah.
So I did Ancestry.com, and lo and behold, my freaking father popped up, right? And so I reached out to him and said, do you want to do coffee? And so I went and had coffee with him and two sisters. I found two half-sisters all in that area, right? So if I hadn't bought that house, God wouldn't have left me to my biological father or my two half-sisters, which I'm really not close to, but at least it tied some things together.
Yeah.
And my mom went back for her school reunion for, I don't know, nonstop for like 20 some years. Even this year, my mom's going to be 88, and they're even having one this year.
Oh, wow.
So you just never know where it leads you. But that's how we ended up with that property in New Hampshire.
Right.
Well, when I bought that property in New Hampshire, then I drove over to Vermont. And that's how I ended up with the properties in Vermont, right? Because I was like, well, it's only 2 hours, and it seems so close, right? It's not when you're just like flying around.
Yeah.
Then that was 2 hours, and then I drove to Burlington to get out, right? And then I thought, well, maybe I should buy something in Burlington because that's really close to the airport. Then go to the airport, and then I go here, and then I go to Tilton. I mean, this all made sense at the time, right? Right? Yeah.
So what is the future plans of your portfolio? I mean, what is that going to look like 10 years from now?
Probably keep folding in, right? So like I just did
and
that.
You're 1031 exchanging, or are you cashing out?
No. I've got enough in the stock portfolio that I'm not worried about that end of my life. So this one that I just sold, I 1031, and by the way, I don't like it. So
1031?
The house I bought, I don't like it. I thought I would try one in Lincoln, right? Sun City. So I bought a decent house in Sun City, and I got a good deal on it. So I 1030 most of it. I paid $614. The person that was before me was in contract for $641. So that made good sense, and it's a good property. Yeah, I don't love it.
It's what, about 3.2, about 1,500 square feet?
It's 1,900 square feet,
okay.
And it backs up to Ferrari Ranch Road. Yep. Nice property, very clean. Granite.
What you can rent it for?
I'm renting it right now for $2,950.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't like it.
Yeah, but
what would you do different?
Buy something different.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you paid cash for it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a senior community.
I know. I don't like it.
Community or Lincoln? Or?
I don't like the house. I don't want it anymore.
You gotta write that one out for 5 more years.
Yeah, I just like it. Just I'm like not gonna look at it. Yeah.
But it is a newer house. I mean, it was built in the 20s.
Yeah, I don't worry. See, I don't worry about stuff like that. I just don't.
What somebody new starting out, what would you recommend?
So this is the difference, right? So Mike, I get what you're saying. I truly do. But because I started this process, like my very first 2 properties I bought was when I was 19. Steve Carpenter, right? Out of the magazine. So I'm driving, I'm driving back from Tahoe, and I have $6,000. That's all the money I have to my name, right? And I'm driving back from Tahoe, and I'm like, oh, we should buy a property in Sacramento. I mean, this made sense. Just like the other thing, right? And so I opened up a magazine, and I'm like, well, he looks nice. I'm going to call him. And I called him up, and I said, hey, I've got $6,000. That's all I have. Find me a property. So I bought 2 properties on Con Road in Carmichael, right? And but I was 19, so I wasn't too smart.
Duplexes?
No, two single
Two
families.
single families.
Yeah, but again, I'm 19. I'm not too smart, right? Okay, I'm starting out
Yeah,
right,
if you
but
got
year-
two properties.
No,
You're
there's-
outright.
there's more to come.
What year was that? 1990?
Oh God, no. I'm 63, so whatever year it was. No, it was
Yeah.
before that. Yeah,
70
90,
or
80,
80s?
82.
Oh, 82. Okay.
Mhm. Oh no, I had high interest rates.
I was going to say, yeah, that was
Yeah.
18, 17%.
12 on one because
Yeah.
I got into the VA,
Yes. So
Right.
you assumed.
and so that was the house that I was going to live in. And then the house down the street, I bought another VA, right? And I got better on that one. I think I was at 10.
That's
So
when you could do assumes.
yeah, and I was
72 with no qualifying.
And I was driving back and forth, and I had a boyfriend in the Bay Area. My mom had a boyfriend in the Bay Area. Then we started a cleaning business. I mean, there's just so much I could go on. We were dust busters, and we just did so many wild things. Oh, and then I was selling our ranch for our Wild Horse Ranch. Remember Jeff Dennison, or do you know those? So there was our ranch in Tehima, our Wild Horse Ranch, our ranch at the lake, right? So I got licensed.
New construction.
No. Those were undivided interests into dude ranches.
I don't know what that means.
That's like owning a condo with no walls, right? So you have an amount.
So you get the horse?
You
Like the horse wanders through your property and
pretty close, yeah. So like you have a ranch.
you can ride him when he comes by.
You can totally ride them. Totally, yeah. You have a ranch that has depending on what project, right? So the one in Napa was, I think, 1,940 people, and the one in Tehima was 28 something. So you have a piece of property. The one in Tehima, though, was 14,000 acres. So that was a huge. That was
So they had ranchettes. So it was like 2 acre parcels. 3 acre parcels.
no.
It was a dude ranch.
No, it's
Dude
an
ranch.
undivided interest.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Undivided,
Yep.
right? You all, as a pool of people,
Yep.
own this ranch. You don't get any real estate, but you get a deed
Get a deed. Yep.
as an undivided interest.
Yep.
Right. So I sold those for a while. And I had fun at that
Interesting
because I was
concept.
drinking beer then.
Do you get
So that was a good job.
tax
Yeah.
benefits?
Yeah.
From it?
That was a fun job. The tax benefits?
Yeah. You get
Well,
right off the
they don't
depreciation.
have a big value, so
I'm just
you
wondering.
wouldn't. No,
But the beer was good.
Yeah, the
The
beer was
beer was
good.
good.
Yeah. That was a fun job. That was a fun job to have when you're young. But back to the con road. So what happened is I wanted to go back to the Bay Area. So I sold one and I took a $15,000 note. So whatever I bought it for, I sold it for $15,000 more. So you're thinking that's smart, right? Then I traded the second one for a condo in Tahoe, which probably would be worth, I don't know, 700 or $1 million now, but that's a whole other story.
Right.
And for that little stupid place. And then and I probably could have sued the title company, right? Not on the one in the condo, but this one, because this girl went into default and they never told me, right? And the title company is supposed to somehow or file that.
Yeah, you can record it. So if
supposed-
it goes into default, it gives you a notice.
Yeah. And that never got done.
Notice of default.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
So by the time that it got so far in, I could afford it because remember, I only started with 6,000, right?
Yeah, but you should have got payments on that note. You never got the payments?
Nope, nothing.
But you never knew that
Oh,
you
you mean
didn't
from
get
the beginning?
What's that?
From the beginning, you
Nope,
didn't get any
no, it
payment?
was a balloon payment.
Oh, it was zero. It was a no pay note.
A balloon payment.
Okay, so she just assumed your note, essentially.
Yep, and walked
So
away.
the first
Walked in
loan
and
went
walked away.
default.
Yep, and I never got a penny. Yep.
Yeah.
And nobody told me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one, so I lost that, right? Then the condo had high fees, and I had spent my $6,000 buying these properties. Now I lost 15. Kind of bad deal. And I sold the condo and got out from under it for the same $52,000 that I bought it for. Right. And so my $1 million condo.
Right.
So
yeah, it's worth $1 million now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
It wasn't
when
back
people, so people, I always say shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
Well, you have to be able to hold it.
We just
You can't
can't
hold it.
Yeah, you
still
just
gonna lose it.
Well, you can't have everything.
Right.
Yeah.
You just can't. And the bottom line is you're going to win some and you're going to lose some.
Yeah.
And it's the old shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yeah, should have bought that property, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Could have bought that property, but we didn't. Right? We bought that one. Yeah.
And they're not all winners.
They're not all
all
winners.
winners.
No. So make the portfolio large enough. So it's kind of like getting enough listings, right? Or enough sales.
Yeah.
You get enough that when one falls off, you're kind of like, I wish it hadn't happened, but you shrug it off because it's not the only one happening.
Right.
Or one of a few. It's one of many.
Right.
Right. So that's, you have to do one of many. When it falls off, you're disappointed that you just lost that money.
Correct.
But you're not broke because of it.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of how it all started, was that guy in the magazine.
Yeah.
A guy on the magazine. But it's not the same Steve Carpenter that works at Windermere. It's a different Steve. He went into selling signs.
Oh, okay.
He worked at Century 21 on Madison Avenue.
I'll be darned.
Yep.
I think in the 80s, no, I wasn't in the magazine yet. I was working for an investment company. And we were buying single-family residences, putting them in limited partnerships, and we were buying houses at the courthouse steps, doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
You're way ahead of your curve.
Yeah, we were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And then we were hard money lender at the same time, too. We were doing all that and helping realtors put transactions together because you could assume the existing loans rather than getting a new loan. So assume the existing at 12%, and then we'd put the second on there at 18. So the blended was 14, but if you went and got a new loan, it was 18.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out.
You're way ahead of your time.
Yeah, that's what we did in the 80s.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people didn't know what to do. I was buying.
I was busier than a son of a gun during those days.
I was just stupid. I didn't know what I was doing. I had bought a couple of lease options, and then I would sell the lease options.
Yep.
It's pennies, right?
Yeah.
It was a learning curve, but it's pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
You're barely making it. You think you're doing something.
But you have to barely make it until you make it.
Well, you're getting experience.
Yeah, you're getting.
But you're literally making 1,000 here and 1,000 there. It's not an income.
Lease option is kind of like wholesaling.
Oh,
yeah.
I've never seen anyone buy the lease option.
Oh, yeah, no, because you just put in the lease option subject to, whoever, transfer. Yeah, I did several of those because, I needed to eat. So I didn't eat, so I had
Right, you'd set it up and then you'd sell it to them and then they'd pay more than what you'd paid on your option.
Just 1,000.
No, you just sell the option.
Yeah.
And then they perform in the option.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't care what they did.
Yeah, we did all that in the 80s. There was crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It was a Wild West in the 80s.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Way more fun.
Oh, I had a blast.
But
I learned a lot.
But I think some of those techniques still could work today.
They are.
But
they're just slightly modified.
Yeah, and people don't know how to be creative like they used to.
Correct.
They put themselves in little boxes.
Yep.
And I think, and I don't mean to be mean, but I think maybe our country's overeducated, right? Not that we can overeducate, but I think we did. And people, and I say this to my friend who speaks 5 languages, I've never met somebody so stupid, right? She's like, has a master's degree in systems or business, whatever, speaks 5 languages, and she thinks like this.
Yeah.
Because that's all she was ever, if it's not written in the book.
Yeah.
Right?
Or if it's not in the box, I can't do it.
I've got to draw a line around it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
That's my problem.
Take off the blinders.
Yeah. That's my problem. And I know that's your problem.
Yeah.
I'm way out of the box. The box is over here and I'm like way over there.
Well, that's how you do have to be careful, because that's how you lose pieces.
You do.
Yeah, you lose pieces.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I was like the Astro van, which is a good van. They don't make them anymore, but it's a good van, but little pieces fall off.
Mm-hmm.
Still runs, but little pieces are falling off, right? I'm like, that's kind of neat. Little pieces are coming off.
I love analyzing. I love putting things together.
It's puzzles.
Yeah, and the 1031, you can do so many interesting, fun things under that umbrella of 1031 and exchanges and moving stuff around.
Yeah.
That shell game of stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so back to saying like my property, I will, in my mind, say I'll never sell. And then the word never is a big word. I wish not to sell it, right? Whatever comes of life, we don't know, right? Because we cannot see into the future.
Correct.
There's no magic ball.
Correct.
That's right.
So that has 4 houses on it. I don't envision myself selling that, right?
Is that where you live now?
Yeah. And so I live in one house. My mom lives in one house, and the other 2 are rented, right? And so that brings me cash flow.
Right.
I don't have to worry about it, right?
There's all your utilities and
Yeah,
everything.
I live in the smallest thing. I live in 980 square feet, right?
Don't need much.
Oh, I don't. Nobody comes over because like they'd be in my bedroom, right? So I don't have any walls. And and I'm perfectly happy in my hole. My mom said, "Well, what if something happens to me? Will you move to my house?" Why would I move to your house? And she said, like a real house. And I'm like, no,
Like a real house.
I'm kind of happy in my shed. So no, I think I'll stay in my shed. I've lived out there for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
So it's a studio style.
completely, it's
Okay.
40 by whatever, 980 square feet.
It's an open concept.
Open
yeah.
concept.
Yeah, people,
Love it.
the few people who've been in there, guys always like it more than girls, right? Because it has very much that New York loft thing,
Okay.
right? Cement
Yes.
floors,
Yes.
super easy. I'm a minimalist to begin with. One thing comes in, 2 things leave, right? So you don't come in and find stuff at my house. And I've always said when I die, it shouldn't take them longer than 2 hours to get my crap out. Right? There should be no going through stuff because it doesn't matter to anybody else.
Right.
It just doesn't. We think we hoard this shit.
Yep.
Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So get rid of it because nobody cares.
Right.
Right? So I'm getting
Good
rid of
point.
shit all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Pictures, the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I keep pictures of people, but not places. Because nowadays, Google does a better job than I do.
Right.
Like when you travel and you take a picture of the building. Well, it's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a cloud or mountain or whatever.
I can go to Google and get a better shot.
Exactly. Unless you're in it.
Yeah. And I keep pictures of friends or
Now you can put yourself in it.
Yeah, now you can put yourself in it.
You can. So I think long term would be I think I've kind of worked toward that now.
So right now you're going through the modification of the portfolio. You're revamping.
I don't have that much.
reorganizing.
I don't have that much left.
But you have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I built.
Yeah,
How
you
long did it
built.
take you? Yeah, like what was your cycles? You built and then
I
restructured.
built. I held.
and tapering off. Yeah.
And then
Restructured.
and I'm restructured.
Yeah.
Correct. And now it's now.
Yeah. How long did it take you to build? How long have you been?
The building part was the hard part.
Okay.
Right. So the building and hold was over 20 years. It's not quick. 25 years. Right. The restructuring needs to be done in pieces.
Correct.
Because you are either going to do 1 or 2 or 3
Correct.
into something that you like better.
Yeah.
Or you're going to swallow the bullet and pay capital gains.
Correct.
Those are your 2 choices.
Right.
Right. So I've done a mix. Right. I mixed it up a little bit. But at this point, and it's been this way for several years for me. I'd have to look back. I haven't had a mortgage or a car payment. I'm debt free, and I've been debt free for a long time now. And God and life is better on this side. Life is better debt free.
As we get older, being debt free is an excellent thing.
I'd rather be debt free with 1 property. Now, if I knew what I knew, I'd better be debt free with 1 property than carry liability on 4 or 5.
Right.
Right. So and it's different ages for different things.
Correct.
Right.
So for the younger generation, they should have debt because it's also a way to build wealth.
Yeah.
Debt reduction builds equity in a property.
Yeah.
So if the property goes up and the debt goes down, you're increasing your equity much quicker.
Paying principal is paying principal. It's a savings account.
That's correct.
Right.
So for the younger person, person who's getting started, we like debt.
Yeah.
Because you should, in our opinion, you should not be living off of the income off of that portfolio because you have your job to do that. So if it's taking care of itself, like you just said, if it's taking care of itself, let it run. Go the 20 years.
The other thing is that a lot of young people don't know how to save.
You're correct.
I didn't. I do now, but I didn't. And I remember buying that property in Folsom, right? And I stretched it. I bought off Berry Creek, right? quite a large house. And I remember saying to myself, stretch it because you won't have any money to waste.
Right.
Right. And then my mom bought a bunch of flowers and freaked me out. Right. And I told her, you got to come off my checking account. I'm not spending $100 on flowers. It's all going into savings. Right. Because I realized then there's a fine line. There's a fine line. Right. You don't want to push it to the point where you can't breathe, but you want to push it to the point where you feel like your pants are a little tight. Because you know why? Because you're young and you're young and stupid, and you're going to do stupid things, like I did when I was 19.
Yeah.
So when I got to Folsom, I was older. I was 29. So a whole decade had gone by, right? So I was a little bit smarter, but I thought to myself, I don't want to lose it, but I don't want my money going into the air, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it started.
So you're saying that because you didn't have the saving habit, you put it into a property and you made that kind of stretch.
I did it over and over and over and over. I didn't have a penny in the bank.
So you had your debt, and you paid down the debt, which then was your automatic savings.
I created a lot of debt. At one point, I had, at one point I looked at it and I think I had about $4 or $5 million in liability, right? And that was probably at the 49 doors. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm a home warranty rep. I make good money. I do. Right. And I have been number one. I've been number one with this company for 15 years. Right. I don't make enough to float this much debt. Right. And I looked at it and I'm like, holy shit, why would anybody give me that much debt? Right. Then I listened to Dave Ramsey. So I call it a period. So Mike will know this. Bob Allen, Nothing Down seminars, Carlton Sheets.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember all those.
Floor 1, right? Number 2, Robert Kiyosaki came a decade later or more. Floor 2, right? First one, buy nothing down, spread it out, get wide. Get as wide as you can. Yeah. I call it peeing dog series theme, right? Have you ever seen a dog or a wolf that marks their spots?
Yeah.
They go as wide as they feel that they can control their territory.
Right.
A dog will pee on corners. You'll know a little dog will pee. A big dog will take on further corners, right? So go as far as you can and pee on your corners, right? Once you do that, you got to control it. So then you've got your circle, right? So then you take your circle and you start squeezing your circle. This is just my theory, right? So you're squeezing in your circle, and then Robert Kiyosaki came along and I'm like, wow, that seems easier. I'm going to do that. So then I started taking 2 or 3 properties and boosting them into a multi-unit. And that's those multi-units I held over 20 years. So I did that a few times, not a lot, but I did that a few times, consolidating my real estate pieces, advancing my doors.
Right.
By the way, that's just as much work.
Multifamily or
multifamily. In my experience, I've owned a lot of multi.
No, that's just as much work, right?
Oh, it's more. Way more.
Are you rich? When you own it, are you feeling rich?
Yeah. Horrors can be. You get beat up.
You're so rich.
You want to see all the bruises?
And everybody told you you're rich, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They assume that we're wealthy and you're
dripping of money.
Oh, yeah. You're part of that. 1.1%. The 1%, 1.1.
You are dripping of money. It's dripping right out of your pockets.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a flow.
Yeah, it is. It's flowing down the stream. Yeah.
In one pocket out the other.
The only thing is, like you said, is that it's a forced savings. So those multi-units, you've got the tenants coming in. If one tenant goes, you still have the other units. So it's not like a single family where if you've got to do an eviction, which costs thousands of dollars and could take months.
California.
Yeah. Like
not
the crazy one that went like that around the plate. That took me 6 months, right?
Yeah. That's how long it takes.
Oh, and then
thousands of dollars.
And our garbage out front.
Here's where I'm at. I have multifamily. I have a 6-unit duplex. That's all I have left in multifamily.
Good for you.
The rest is single family.
Yeah.
I have less problems with my single family.
Oh, yeah.
So when someone says, I want to have a multifamily I want 5 doors, 6 doors, whatever. Why not own 6 single family?
Yeah.
Treat it as an apartment complex, but they're all separate.
Yeah.
So if you have a portfolio of 6 properties or even 10 properties, if you have a vacancy, you have the other 9 to support the one.
Yeah.
Well, what I've discovered is the multifamily, I always seem to have a vacancy every year because it's a multifamily and people don't stay long as they do stay long in a house,
Single family, yeah.
in a single family.
And your equity is gaining much higher in the single family.
Well, no, my equity actually has been going up more in the single family than in the multifamily.
That's what I'm saying. Your equity goes up much higher in the single family.
Single family, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at that transition right now. I already bought all my stuff.
Yeah.
I went through and modified my portfolio and got rid of all my crap, all the junk, the bad areas and everything. So now I'm in a much better area.
You mean North Highlands?
Well,
It was South Sac.
South Sac.
Oh,
We're talking real bad stuff.
Yeah.
And so got out of all that. And then I got out of my problem child, which was California.
Yeah.
Because the rent controls, all the stuff created a lot of problems for me.
Yeah.
So moved everything out, and now everything is fine. Evictions are taking me 40 days, start to finish.
Yeah.
Filing to sheriff, removing them from the property. Love that. But because I did acquire some multifamily, I'm always plagued with, out of the 7 total units, I always seem to have a vacancy every year.
Yeah.
Right now, I have a vacancy in my duplex, and I've been vacant for 4 months. Just can't seem to get it rented. Well, it's the winter and stuff like that. And I'm still sitting vacant. I'm real picky on the tenants, but I can afford the vacancy.
Yeah.
Because I have a portfolio big enough
Isn't
to
it nice?
afford. Oh, it's absolutely wonderful.
Not like when we were young.
No. And so the portfolio
duct taped our windows.
Exactly. So the portfolio is getting close to being debt free.
Good.
So once I sell one more property and do some maneuvering and stuff, then
that's where.
But I'm at the age to do that.
Yeah, that's where it happened for me. That's what I did with some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is I took some properties, sold them, paid capital gains, and paid down. And because
it was well worth it.
Yeah, it was. And it's a freeing, and because I only need so much, right? I don't have any kids, and it's just me. I only need so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
sorry.
Keep sharing.
No, I feel bad.
No, don't feel bad.
Okay.
I love it.
What I was trying to do is figure out a pattern of young, middle-aged to retirement.
Right. Yeah. And I want you to keep talking.
How we talk about
it's first dog peeing, that is tracking their boundaries. Then you get those and you squeeze them in. And so what were you saying? Like, what was your thought with first is carbon sheets? That is, go out and get as much as you can.
Then I did Robert Kiyosaki. But I am not.
What was your takeaway there?
I'm not 100%. It was a road that I went down. Sometimes you get down a road, you can't turn around. It's the road you're on.
Yeah. Right.
So you take that road.
It's a single lane, no U-turn.
It's kind of like
you can drive in the gutter. You can drive on the pavement.
Yeah. But you're driving that way.
Yeah.
That's the road you took.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I'm 100% in agreement with it. It didn't. I don't know if it inspired me or made more, or if I would have been better off just holding what I had and paying that down. I'm thinking I probably would have been better doing that way than the Robert Kiyosaki way. But it was an experience. So what was Robert
Kiyosaki way?
Like, you 1031 and you do multi-units and you
grow.
You grow that way.
Number of units.
Yeah. Okay. And that was tiring. That was a tiring road. Really tiring. It was. I don't know what was more tiring. And so it was get back to the point where we were talking.
It's all tiring.
Oh, but I don't know. Like, was it the years that I had bought all this? So one thing about me now is that I can sheetrock and I can put in windows and I don't really like plumbing, but I can run plumbing. I probably won't hook it up. I can run all electrical. That's pretty easy. But anything in the house that you look at, like, oh, I think I should redo that kitchen. Oh, okay. I can tear it out. I can put it back. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you were talking about like something like, young people looking at it, because they're linear, like don't even know the word, but the way they're looking at it. And for me, I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of like a week job or a weekend job, right? I'll just tear it apart. There's times I haven't had a bathroom for like, a week. I'll just go over to my mom's house because, my bathroom's like outside, right? And so, but
I just have a moon on it.
yeah, I don't look at a project and think to myself, that's undoable. Right. So it's only a house.
Yeah, it's only a house.
It's only a house. It sticks.
Well, and you also said you look for good bones.
I do look for good bones.
So,
I don't always.
Everything else is cosmetic.
Yeah. So my ice house in Tilton,
mm-hmm.
I really loved that building. Right. I loved it. It had good bones, but it still had a boiler.
Yeah.
It still gets below zero. Right. You still have other things that go on. And you're in Tilton. Nobody knows here where that is, but it's Tilton. And so I have a certain element of tenant. My mom and I do things differently,
mm-hmm.
right? So I've always been the money. My mom managed that building for a long time. My mom would do weekly rents and, I don't know, listen to people's stories. I'm not like that. I don't care about your story.
Right.
You're not doing weekly rents. And everything changed when I did it, right? And so just a different philosophy, no wrong or right.
Is it 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom?
Weird about me is I like 1 bedrooms.
Tell me more.
Because you can almost get per square foot more.
Uh-huh.
And I can, California law, I can limit it to 2 people.
Okay.
Right? And so I like 1 bedrooms.
Okay.
So I have, in Yuba City, I've got a 1 bedroom. I've got 1,100 for 1 bedroom. I've got another one that's renting for 1,100. I've got a studio that I'm getting 1,000 for. This is in Yuba City.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
My units are all gutted and redone. Right. So tenant moves in.
Top of the line.
Yuba City. Yuba City, top of the line.
Okay.
So Home Depot counters.
Right.
But
Home
new
Depot
kitchen,
granite
new bathroom.
that you just put on there.
Not Home Depot, but Dave's tile.
Okay.
Dave's tile, right?
One piece granite style or composite.
Yeah, granite composite on all
mm-hmm.
kitchens have it, right? So clean, right?
And then a laminate flooring of some sort, no carpet.
All high end.
Yeah, no carpet.
No carpet in any of my units.
Yep.
Any of them. All high end, new vinyl, wood flooring. Yep.
Yeah.
And so simple. And because of that, I can get top dollar, right, for my Yuba City, and low. But it took years.
Low turnover.
Yeah. Oh God, really low turnover. Yeah, they want it. But it took years.
Yeah.
Years and years and years and years and years and years to get to that point where that building.
Right.
So would I sell that building down the line? Probably. And then what I would buy is something closer to me in Loomis, maybe a big single family that I wouldn't live in.
Right.
I would just rent it out. Maybe you'll have a guest house. Maybe you'll have 2.
Well, maybe you should buy it and live in it.
No.
And then avoid the tax.
No.
It's an exit strategy.
I can pretend I live in it.
Well, that's true. Shh. Convert it to owner-occupied.
Yeah, one place I'm not going to live, which I've decided, is Sun City. Yeah. I just don't love that place. And it's not bad.
This is Lincoln Sun.
Yeah. I just buy it. I have no love for it.
Well,
no love.
Probably because you don't like all the houses so close together.
I don't like anything about it.
But it's quiet.
And
Nobody
I bought
comes out.
Yeah, I had to do a 10
Clubhouse is cool.
You won't do it next time.
Yeah, you know,
we'll do the same thing.
who knows what? Well, I won't do that same thing, no. Right. But you'll do something else stupid. We do. That's the way we work, right? So it's better to.
You have to be okay with that.
Yeah, you do.
And a lot of people try and hide from it.
No, you better to do something than nothing at all.
Exactly.
Okay, doing nothing gets you a nothing result.
Yeah.
Right. So do 10 things. 5 could be stupid, right?
Yeah. And 5
are good.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 that are good are going to outweigh or at least match the 5 that are stupid.
And
sometimes
you learn
the one,
you get some great experience.
Yeah, sometimes the one outweighs everything.
It does.
Because now you're a contractor. You understand when you walk through a house, you know what to do.
Okay, so this is a good example of that. So I had a new gate put in because I like my privacy. My gates are big gates with magnetic magnets.
Yeah.
And so the guy comes and I said, my gate won't open, right? He just put him in, my gate won't open. And he comes out and he goes, well, I think that, it's the inverter and, you should have an electrician. And I said, no, I said, it's not. And he said, no, he said, and this is my gate guy. I really like him now. And I said, hon,
No.
I said, no, I do. I said, no, hon, it can't be. And he goes, yeah, no, I think it is. And I said, no, let me tell you why. I said, because the gate was open and I shut it. So I'm getting power. It wouldn't shut if I didn't have power. I said, it won't open because it doesn't have enough. Something's going on with the control board. The magnet, which is a 120-pound magnet,
Won't let loose
because there's not enough surge coming through the control board. Something's going on with that.
Right.
And he sends her. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what. I'll call my electrician. So this goes on and I'm busy working. Like, stop bothering me, right? So a couple hours goes by and he goes, no. I think I figured it out. I think, yeah, I think you did. Right? Is my gate working now? Yes, it is.
It was the panel.
Yes, it is. So it helps to know. Do I want to lift sheetrock anymore? No.
No. But you have the knowledge of it all.
Yeah.
And that's just like Joel and I. We've been around a long time. I've rehabbed hundreds of houses for the banks. I just know what to look for when you walk through a house.
Yeah, you learn over
Even
time.
when you get ready to buy a house, I can walk through and go, yep. Okay, I got this.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll buy it, or no, I won't, because I know behind the scenes.
And the ones that you say no, you won't use, like, hey, Tara, do you want to be stupid and buy something like that looks like this?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it in Wilseyville?
Yeah. I lost my stupid.
And I just kept it. Yeah. But yeah, no, experience. So, you got to, I guess, when you're looking for building a team, right? You look for a team that's leveraged in different directions because we need young, we need strong.
Yeah.
You want the middle, the hungry, and then you want the experience, right?
Yeah.
Long as the young, strong, and hungry understand that experience, all that knowledge, no matter what you can't do, because I'm not crawling around the floor anymore, right? I don't want to lay any floor. Long as they realize just because you're not doing it doesn't mean you don't know how.
Correct.
Right?
I've laid enough floor. I've replaced enough toilets and garbage disposals and hot water heaters, and I'm to the point right now. I'll just hire it out and make sure they do it right because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I don't want to do it anymore.
No, yeah, you just get to, and when they're ripping you off.
Yeah.
Right. Oh well, I think you need this. No, I actually don't think I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they're ripping you off, and that's a key. So like when your clients come to you, they have to understand the value you're giving them, because that's value. So Gloria Does, you know her. Mm-hmm. So we were talking, and she's on a couple of committees. She doesn't sell real estate anymore. And I said, but you don't understand all that knowledge is value because you can't replace it.
Right.
Right. You can replace the laborer. Right. You can even replace the hungry. Mm-hmm. But you can't replace the knowledge.
That's correct.
You can't do that. Yeah. You can't pump it in. Right. Yeah. So that's invaluable.
Maybe someday it'll be like Neo in the Matrix. Yeah, we'll just stick it in our head.
Plug it in.
Yeah.
We'll know it all.
No, but I'm going to be the first to buy one of those autonomous cars.
Oh.
I want one. Yeah.
Because I can drive by itself.
Yeah, I do totally. I'll sit in the back seat
before I die. I want it. Yeah.
Well, I don't even care if I don't want to. Like, I'd buy one now.
Let your driver's license go.
Yeah.
You don't need a driver's license.
Well, I can sit in the back seat and text. Yeah. Right?
Oh,
Yeah, do everything I want. I can program it to drive my mom around because I worry about my mom driving. Right? So, yeah, I totally want that. God bless Elon Musk.
The new thing I just saw on the TV today, the new thing is parents now are putting their kids in these vehicles that drive by themselves, and they're taking them to school, they're taking them around. So that's not good that you're putting a young child in these autonomous cars.
Where are they doing that?
New York. Is it New York?
Because they only have them in
San Francisco.
the Waymos or whatever there.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think where that was. I think it was maybe in Florida, wherever big city now has them.
Yeah.
I just saw it today on the news. And
I don't
parents are now using them. And I thought, oh my goodness gracious,
Yeah.
one more disconnect from the parent to the kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're not driving them to school.
There's been a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a rude awakening.
You mean when
The world is
was done?
changing. The way we do things is changing, and it's changing faster now than it's ever been before. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Stuff that we're going through.
No, I don't like change.
At least 2 more questions.
I'm good with things actually staying the way. If we went back to horse and buggy, I'd be okay. I would. I just don't need to move that fast. I mean, I do because I have to, and that's the way society's set up. But
Yeah.
I'd be fine.
If you were to do it all over again, how would you do it?
I would buy a property, bank loan. So I'd go to Joel or Mike, buy a property.
Right.
I would not leverage it. I would pay it down. And then once I paid it off, then I might take a loan off of that and buy another property.
So you did
Cash.
leverage it on the way in, at least 40%, 50%.
Yeah,
So
no,
you
I
have to-
leveraged everything.
Yeah, you leverage.
But it all
Then pay it off.
And then the bank, it all worked out the same. I would have made the same amount of money, and I would have had a lot less stress.
Mhm.
So I put myself through hell.
Okay, what do you mean? You
Mike is like,
Yep.
no,
Been there,
no, I
done that.
understand, but what was
Got the stamp or the tattoo.
the difference between option A or option B?
Option A is one liability that you're paying off. So let's say I'd come to you guys and I said, okay, I want my first starter home.
Right.
Right. And that home is whatever, because you know what? There's always a deal to be had.
Yeah.
I kept thinking the clock was running out. There's no more deals.
Right.
There's always a deal.
Get as many.
There's a deal today. There was a deal yesterday.
Yeah.
There's a deal tomorrow. There's always a deal.
There's always a deal.
There's always a deal. So that's short-term mentality, thinking the deals are running away from you, right? You got to capture as much as you can before the deals go away,
Right.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like scattered rabbits.
Yeah.
Right? Rabbits are still breeding. I'm not going to catch them all, but I chased them all. So, so I think I'd buy a house. I mean,
Right.
and it doesn't mean this would be so concrete, but I think I would buy a house, maybe even two, because I'm like that, and I would pay them off completely.
Okay.
Be debt free on those.
Yep.
Feel my stress relief, and then I would decide maybe at that point not touch those. Actually, instead of taking a loan, not touch those, and then go buy another house, pay that off debt free.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd move that aside. Then I
So
would
you
buy
do it
another house,
slower than is what you're saying.
one at a time,
Mhm.
like that.
And leverage on the entrance, pay down the debt, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, after it's paid off. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I put all my focus into that, hyper focus into that. And it can be done. People are like, well, I can't pay it off. Well, you can. Don't say can't. I hate that word. So a couple of words I hate.
Well, you
No,
make double payments
can't.
every month.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah,
Go-
more than that.
Go get a side hustle. Go do something. So that's the Dave Ramsey in me.
Yeah.
So did I like Dave Ramsey better than the Robert Kiyosaki?
They both worked.
I'm
work
leaning.
differently.
I'm leaning to Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
I've done Bob Allen, Carlton Sheet, Robert Kiyosaki, and Dave Ramsey. I've done them all. Right? They all. And without them all, I wouldn't be here to this point in my life. But maybe if I had started with Dave Ramsey, I would have been financially in the same exact place I am now, but not having to be so stressed out for all those
Right.
years.
Right.
It's the same financial place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
same
I,
network.
Because you would have grown up from 1 to 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 15 to 24 rather than up to 49 and then back down to
Yeah.
24.
and having to control it all.
right,
and
and
work.
having to work with
Yeah.
all those properties and
Yeah. So,
I get what you're saying now. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they
way
both
less stress.
got way less stress, and the end result would have been the same.
Right.
The end result.
Well, and that's something as well, is I think a lot of people, while it's, get as many as you can, and it's another psychological thing is, I have to get 100.
That's what was in my head.
And it's like, I've got to get a lot.
I want
because then
100 doors.
That's what
It was a magic number. It was just a psychological.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a great goal.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't make 100,
Yeah.
you got 49.
The minute I hit that mic,
Way
I was
more
like, oh shit, I'm done. I don't want any more. I'm done.
but the thing is, you can also not have to have 49. You don't have to. You can have like 20 units paid off and have a grand.
let's say-
Well,
let's-
you had 50 because one didn't count.
But let's say it this way. Let's say I had done Dave Ramsey
Yeah.
instead of the Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
Right. And got to this point, and let's say I had bought 2 and I started at 19.
Yeah.
Smart
Yeah.
instead of stupid.
Kept your 2 properties on
Yep.
par. Paid 'em off.
Instead of stupid. Right. So I had those 2. And then after those were paid off, because mind you, those were 63 and 52. That's how much they were. So
Right.
could I have paid those off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have, right? Not then, but I could have worked to
Sure.
pay them off.
Over time.
Yeah. And so then I bought 2 more. So let's say I paid them off. Let's say it took even 10 years, right? Because those properties down on Con, what do they go through? About 500 now?
Yeah.
Is that
In
neighborhood?
that range.
Yeah. So let's say, so
75.
yeah.
500.
So I would have had close to $1 million for those 2 properties. So then it took me 10 years to pay them off, right? So I would have been 29, right? So I would have had not then, but future million
Yeah.
in my pocket. Then they bought 2 more, right? But I wouldn't need so much time to pay those off, right? Because now I could pay
'Cause you
those
got
off.
And you have the
Paying in.
income coming in off of those.
Now I got 5 years, right?
Right.
And let's say I bought 2 more, but those properties weren't on Con. Those were probably over on the bluffs, similar, but those go for what, 6? Yeah. So now I pay those off. Takes me 5 years. Now I've got another $1.2 million stacked on top of that. So now I've got 2 million and I'm 39, right? 2 million future.
Right. 2 million
Right.
future. 2 million now. But
Yeah.
so working your way
Future.
to
Now I
retirement.
got 4 incomes coming in, right?
Yeah.
So I did it all half-assed backwards.
Yeah.
I put myself through a lot of work,
Yeah.
Mhm.
a lot of work. Where if I had been smarter, I would have done it more systematically. But I didn't know. Because remember, I didn't graduate from high school.
We also,
So this was all
I didn't either.
this was all test and error. I was literally spitting into the wind, hoping for something good.
Goes to show
Yeah.
you don't need a actual written education to be successful.
No, you just need a lot of tenacity.
You do.
Yeah, you need
Yeah.
some
But
assets.
if somebody
And
had,
guts.
but if somebody had sat down and explained this concept to me,
I don't think anybody knew it back then,
right?
Well,
like, except for a few people. I don't
Yeah.
think
yeah.
it wasn't common. It's not even common now.
Yeah, I think
Like if you look at the real estate stuff I look at, it's like, oh, go buy a bunch of houses, go buy as many as you can, and get 100 units.
Yeah.
And it's not go buy one and make sure it's in good shape, and then go buy another one and make sure it's in good shape and pay it off and pay it off and pay it off.
Yeah.
Go buy another one and because I know when I was in my 20s, it was like want to knock over the world right now.
Yeah. And where does that lead you?
To my 30s.
Yeah.
I'm still working on the same thing.
Yeah. So by the time now, I probably would have easily had 10, 15 properties
Oh yeah.
all paid for,
Yeah.
right? And easily could say that it would be a good net worth of like 8 million
Mhm.
easily,
Yeah.
right? That would be on a maybe even low end, depending on the properties, right?
Right.
But no stress.
Right.
Far
No
less
stress.
stress. Yeah.
Here's a scenario.
I like the no stress part.
Yeah.
I mean, there would have been stress. There would have been stress,
Sure.
but not like
Not to the level.
that I put myself through.
There is a formula, and it's just a theory, and it can be done. The 15 house rule, and we talk about that quite a bit.
Yeah.
So here's the
I heard
15
this on
house
Bigger
rule.
Pockets.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. So you buy your first house, and every year you buy one house and put a 15-year loan on it. And they take care of themselves. So you go through, and finally you get to the 15th year, and you buy your 15th house. The 16th year, house number 1 is now free and clear.
Yeah, there you go.
Correct?
Yeah.
So at that point in time, you could say, take this job and shove it, because you have income coming in and debts are going down, and you can always refinance and do those kind of things. But house number 1 is free and clear. So now you say, okay, I have a retirement now, my Social Security, pension, whatever other income streams. Now at the house number 1, you say, this year I want to have $100,000 income or $100,000 lifestyle added to what I'm living with. So you go to house number 1, put $100,000 loan or a loan on it that nets you $100,000 and amortize it for 15 years. Now you take the money, put it in your pocket, go spend it, grandkids, whatever, vacations, whatever you want to do. Well, the interesting part is that $100,000 is tax-free. It's borrowed, right?
Yeah.
So now, the following year, house number 2 is free and clear. You do the same thing. So, and maybe that year, that's a more expensive house. You want $125,000, so you put a loan on it to net $125,000. The tenant that's in there is actually paying the mortgage payment for you. So it's maybe a little positive cash flow.
Yeah.
Well, you take the money, go out. Now you go to Europe, you go wherever you want to go, and it's tax-free. So if you do that consecutively and you get down line to the 15th house, that one, so you create this perpetual income stream, tax-free income stream.
Yeah, of 100,000 a year.
Of 100 or more.
Yeah.
So that is an excellent way to end our lives and vacation and have lots and lots and lots of fun.
Yeah.
And then you have a legacy to leave to the kids.
Yeah. I don't have any kids, but yeah.
Well, but someone's going to inherit somebody.
And if I had kids, I don't know, I'm kind of mean.
I could be the beneficiary.
Make your own damn money.
You need someone to sign as a beneficiary.
Make your own damn money, damn it. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I'd have to think that through because I like it, but I really love the freedom of being debt free.
That's no question, but you still have income coming out of a portfolio, but what a great way to get a lump sum of money. And what if you don't spend it all?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Or just, it's just better to have a lump sum of money.
It is. And then you put it in the bank. And,
Exactly.
No, I mean,
bankers like it when you have lump sums.
not having to take it out on real estate, already have it.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
I like that better.
So on that note, what amount do you think you should have? Is it by person? Is it by amount of?
For retirement?
Whatever your
No,
lifestyle
just
is.
for, well, I mean, that's a great question too, but just as kind of a reserve, like that lump sum, happy money, like in your opinion.
Comfort zone
just from
reserve.
your experience.
Everybody's different.
Yes.
You're correct.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking your opinion.
I don't know. So my coworker and I've had this conversation because I'm at one end. She's also very good with money, but she has a mortgage on her house. And so we think differently. She tells me it's because she can't. And I tell her no, because she doesn't. Right. So for me, in a bank account, I keep a couple $100,000. That makes me feel safe.
Right.
That's my money
For whatever.
for
Everything can
for
collapse. You're
emergency
still
or
okay.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If I quit my job, I have enough for a good 6 months or what have you to not have to worry about it or be stress free.
Right.
So that or not have to touch my stocks or worry about my real estate. Get your shit together.
Yeah.
That's because if somebody dies or whatever, you shouldn't do anything for a good 6 months anyways.
Correct.
You need to have brain clear time, and you should have a nest egg that you feel comfortable with, that so you don't have to think. You don't want to make decisions. Right. So that's my comfort zone. But everybody's different. My girlfriend has about $20,000 in her account. She has money sitting in her stocks. You can always get that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you can't. Right. So in her bank account, she keeps 20. That makes her happy.
Yes.
Right. And so
I like yours better.
Yeah.
And here's why. I have a good friend, very close friend of the family, who has properties in another state, and 3 properties. All 3 of them went vacant at the same time. And when the property manager went through, he's like, each one of these is going to be more or less at $8,000 rent ready. So it's 25 plus 3 mortgages that he's having to cover. But, you're almost looking at 50 by the time you get through however many months for getting
the vacancy,
everything.
the mortgages, the rehab.
Right, the rehab, paying for the property manager to get the new tenants, etc. And it still gives you a chunk of change left over. So a lot of people think of that, oh, I'm so wealthy. But you're not. You have good reserves for a rainy day. And it's not like that's not Hawaii money.
Yeah. Remember, when I look at a property, I'm always thinking, what will happen if the roof blows off? Right? The water heater goes, the roof goes off, the HVAC system, it all happening at once.
Right. And when you have 24 units, you need to have.
It's all going to happen at once. The boiler goes out, it's 3 degrees. What are you going to do?
Home warranty and insurance.
No, you don't do home warranties back east.
I know.
Oh, you don't?
Not in New Hampshire.
Yeah,
No,
not-
sir.
They have them in Tennessee. I have.
Yeah. New Hampshire, a home warranty for a property like that would be about $10,000.
Ouch.
Yeah. How much is a boiler?
Less than, well,
About
it's probably
$10,000.
$10,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Just
you
pay
know,
for the boiler.
yeah, just do the boiler because I need the boiler done. I don't have time for it. It's 3 degrees.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have time for this. Right. And so, I have to get somebody on it. And so, yeah, each animal and each person, there's no right or wrong to this. Right.
Well, there is a
Right.
right or wrong, but it's determined by what happens.
Well, okay,
And
so
how
there
you
is a
can
right or
handle
wrong,
it.
but there's many rights.
Yeah,
How's
there's not a good or a bad.
Yeah, there's
But-
many
but-
rights.
yeah.
There's many wrongs. We'll say it that way.
There's many wrongs.
There's many wrongs, but
You
there's
call it
many
educational
rights. So like Mike's way of, the 15 house rule, that
Right.
works. It wouldn't be for me, right? But I could see where somebody would enjoy that, right? So there's many ways to go it. I'm just, I'm going to shut my gate and hoard my money, bury it in the backyard, and be all happy, right? And this way, like my mom, if something happens to my mom, can I afford to take care of her?
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
I don't have to stress out about putting her somewhere. I promised her I wouldn't, but what if I have to bring somebody in?
Right.
Right?
Oh, I had family had to do that. It's quite expensive.
It is quite expensive. And you run through money fast.
Yeah.
You do very
Right?
quickly.
So you need to have that. And you need to have an emergency backup so that way you're not feeling like, okay, now you got to sell a house
Right.
or you got to sell stocks. When do you always have to sell a stock?
Whenever it's the worst time.
When, right? It's always
Yeah.
when the family-
Because that's,
That's when you
you're
need it.
forced.
Yeah.
Other things are going on in the market. It's probably not the best time.
always.
Yeah.
That's always when it happens, right?
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is buy real estate, wait a long time, pay it all off, and love life.
Yeah, all of that.
All of it.
All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And enjoy the rough roads along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy the Wilseyvilles and the Georgetown. When the water went out, by the way, it did not have a main shutoff. And so I was taking down cabinets in the kitchen and asking my mom to just hold them against the wall until I got down. That's all you had to do, Mom. Hold them against the wall. So when I unscrewed the cabinet, she went like that. It dropped on the water pipe, which started gushing water out the thing. It was Thanksgiving Day. So we called the fire department. Oh, those guys were so happy to get out of the house.
Mhm.
They all came over. We had everybody out of our house. And it was kind of funny because I said, the water's gushing out of the pipe. And they looked at us like we're a couple of women. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. But it's gushing pretty good. Guy walks in there. Guy comes running out. Water's gushing out of the pipe. Water's gushing out of the pipe. Right? Because it was gushing. Like, we were up to here. Right?
Right.
Fortunately, the house was built in, it was an old miner's cabin back in the day, gold miner's cabin.
Yeah.
So it was built on planks.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So water
Just
was
seeped right
sifting through. Yeah. So that was a good part, right?
Yeah.
That was a good part. So nobody knew where the main was. So they're all like standing around. They're grateful to be out of the house because they have family over and it's Thanksgiving Day. So they're all hanging around and they call this guy, knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power. Some old guy comes out from the woodworks. I don't know where he came down from, sticks. And he comes out and he goes, yeah, I remember this property. Yeah, well, back in the day. And he goes, yeah, I think it was like, well, I don't know, like somewhere around here. And then they poke it. Yeah, damn for sure. That's where the main was. Dug it up a couple of feet. It was 2 feet deep. That guy knew where it was. He came out. Knowledge is power. He came out and he pinpointed that freaking main, right? They dug it up and they turned off the water and they went home.
Yahoo.
Yeah.
They waved
Saved.
Yeah.
Any of the firemen look familiar around
Couldn't
the
have
calendar?
couldn't have thanked them
Calendar
enough,
fireman.
right?
Yeah.
Couldn't have thanked them enough. Could
Yeah.
not have thanked them enough.
Bringing brownies later.
Right. Yeah, but not with Putnam.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So,
All right. Any final words of advice to?
No,
Anyway.
but
Thank you.
investing, you got to enjoy the road. Gotta enjoy
and
the journey.
invest.
Yeah,
So,
well, you can't stand still,
no.
Yeah.
can't
right?
stand
And
still.
so if you're working with your clients, no standing still. Pick a road.
Yeah.
And get on it.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys. Joel.
Awesome.
My